class, take your seats. Ouch, my shoulder!
What happened, Sky?
I don't know, Ro. I just felt a weird pinching pain right on the side of my shoulder. I have a volleyball tournament after school today, though. My whole team is counting on me. You guys, I need to know what's going on. Will you help me figure it out?
Mr. B, we have to help her.
But what can we do? How do we even know what happened to her? I didn't see anything happen, did you?
Excellent observation, Kate. To find out what's going on, we're going to have to take a closer look into Sky's peripheral nervous system.
Peripheral? What's it what?
The peripheral nervous system, Ro, is how Sky's body sends messages to and from the brain to give it an idea of what it wants to do about outside stimuli and also control what reactions she will have to that stimuli.
Oh, I get it. So the reason that Sky jumped was because of her peripheral nervous system. How in the heck are we going to be able to see that though?
To know what happened, we have to see what happened. So you know what that means, class?
Oh no, don't say it.
Everyone to the bus!
Field trip.
Whoa!
Whoa, Mr. B! What is that?
According to my textbook, that is a nerve. Nerves are cord-like bundles of axons that conduct sensory and motor impulses.
Hey, Kate, what does that book of yours say about those long, thin tube things?
Well, Ro, those are the axons. A bundle of axons is a fascicule. You put a bunch of fascicules together and you get yourself a nerve.
This is interesting. It says here that there are wrappings around each layer of the nerve. The endoneurium, which wraps around each axon. Then you have the perineurium, which wraps around each fascicule. Lastly, there's the epineurium, which is wrapped around the whole nerve.
Wow, Kate, that's fascinating. I don't understand though. What made Sky jump like that?
Wait, Ro, there's more here about a nerve. Maybe if I keep reading, we'll be able to figure it out.
What an invigoratingly unnerving discovery, Kate. I would say, though, to see what really happened with Sky, we're going to have to get even smaller.
Oh no. Why can't we ever just have a normal day in class?
Guys, what's going on down there? I'm still having this pain and it's getting worse.
Hang in there, Sky. We're working on it.
Mr. B, where are we now?
Hey, what's going on? What are all those blinking lights?
Kids, we have now entered the cellular level of Sky's peripheral nervous system. Those blinking lights are the little axons we saw before, sending signals all around Sky's body to and from her brain, just like we discussed before we left.
Mr. B, according to my textbook, those signals are electrical impulses. It says here the impulses can travel in different directions and are named according to which direction they travel in.
Okay, I remember this from a class at my old school. There are 3 different types of nerve impulses. Afferent or sensory nerves, which send signal only to the brain. Efferent or motor nerves, which only send signals from the brain. Then lastly, you have mixed nerves, which send signal both ways to and from the brain.
Hey guys, I know something that might help. I read about how the nerves are classified based on where they're located. Cranial nerves come from the brain, while spinal nerves come from the spinal cord. Maybe since the pain I'm experiencing is in my shoulder, the impulse is coming from a spinal nerve. Also, since I jumped up, the nerve involved must have been a mixed nerve.
Compellingly impulsive intuitions, class. However, there's more. Take a look here, kids. There are more specific locations for where each of these nerves are coming from. For the cranial nerves, there are 12 different ones, all numbered and named by what signals they send for what functions of the brain. Numbers 1 and 2 are attached to the forebrain, and numbers 3 through 12 are attached at the brainstem. Let's travel up to Sky's brain and take a look at what each of these nerves are and what their functions are.
connecting at the fourth brain?
According to my textbook, cranial nerve 1 is also called the olfactory nerve. It handles Sky's sense of smell, but doesn't have anything to do with her motor impulses.
Kate, what are motor impulses?
It says here that motor impulses are what your brain tells the nerve to tell the muscle to do when there is an outside stimulus causing the muscle to either expand or contract to cause a jump, just like when Sky jumped from the pain she felt.
That's pretty interesting, Kate. What about cranial nerves 2? What does that one do?
Cranial nerve 2 is also called the optic nerve. This nerve handles Sky's vision and is also not involved with her motor impulses.
Kate, what else are you reading about the rest of the cranial nerves?
Well, Mr. B, this cranial nerve over here is apparently cranial nerve number 3. It is also called the ocular motor nerve. This one helps move Sky's eyes. It also helps with proprioception, which is how she knows where she is in space.
Oh, I see cranial nerves number 4 too. What does that one do?
That one also helps with her eye movement. It also goes by the name trochlear nerve.
There's cranial nerve 5, also known as the trigeminal nerve. This one has many functions, which include sending impulses from the skin, nose, teeth, and tongue. It also aids in chewing.
Look over there. That's cranial nerves number 6. This is the abducens nerve. In Kate's textbook, it says that this also helps move the eyes.
Right you are, Ro. And over there I can see cranial nerve number 7, which is also called the facial nerve. This one has 5 branches which help Sky make facial expressions and also deals with her taste buds on the anterior 2/3 of her tongue.
That's correct, Kate. Nerve number 8 is the vestibulocochlear nerve, which deals with balance and hearing. Right next to that is nerve number 9, which is the glossopharyngeal nerve. This one deals with swallowing and the taste buds on the other 1/3 of the tongue.
Oh, and there's nerve number 10, the vagus, which is parasympathetic, the only nerve that extends down the abdomen and deals with all the organs. Above that is cranial nerve number 11, the accessory, which moves the head and neck.
That last one, number 12, is the hypoglossal, which control movement of the tongue. But, Mr. B, none of those are where her pain came from.
According to my textbook, there are also spinal nerves in the peripheral nervous system. That could be the source of her pain.
Excellent observation, Kate and Ro. Bus, you know what to do.
Hey guys, hurry up in there! My volleyball game's in an hour!
Don't get too nervous, Sky.
Ro!
Look over there, kids. Those are the spinal nerves. Starting from the top to bottom, there are 5 sections. The cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar, the sacral, and the coccygeal. All of the information being taken to the spinal cord is at the dorsal root ganglia attachment, which you can see here. And all the information being taken away is at the ventral root attachment here. When the roots attach together, they form a neuron.
Mr. B, what are ganglia?
That is a wonderful question, Ro. A ganglia is a collection of neuron cell bodies. We just talked about the dorsal root ganglia. However, there are also autonomic ganglia which run up and down along the spinal cord.
According to my textbook, the spinal nerves have rami, which are branches, and there are 4 of them. The dorsal ramus, which innervates behind the spinal cord. The ventral ramus innervates everything in front of the spinal cord. The meningeal branch innervates the spinal cord, and the rami communicantis is found in the thoracic region and carries autonomic fibers. There are also 3 other types of area that are innervated. The intercostal, which deal with the rib cage, joints that deal with joints and everything around them, and skin, which deals with, I bet you could guess, yep, the skin.
Don't forget, Kate, an intervention is where the nerves are supplied to in the body.
You're right, Ro. There are innervations involved with motor endings. In our muscles, we have motor end plates, which help with the contraction and expansion of the muscle. The innervations are where those signals are being sent, which tell these muscles to do just that. These 2 interventions are of the skeletal muscle and the visceral muscle, or glands. It's amazing what our bodies can really do.
You've got that right, Kate. It's just like my friend PNS Ganglia always says, There's strength in numbers, and working together gets the job done better.
There's also a section here on plexia ventrorami. This is where the spinal nerves connect and swap all over the place. There are 4 areas where this occurs here. This cervical area, which supplies sensory input from the skin. The brachial area, which innervates the arm. To describe this one, my book says it's when you hit your funny bone. This is the area that's involved in the feeling you experience here. There is also the lumbar area, which involves the lower abdomen and some thigh muscles. Lastly, there's the sacral area, which involves most of the leg muscles, such as the sciatic nerve, which is the longest and thickest nerve in the body.
I'm still not getting it. How does any of this tell us what happened with Sky?
I think it's time we get some new perspective and get receptive. Come on, Bus, do your stuff. Alright class, now that we know some more information about the peripheral nervous system, let's explore what's really happening here.
It looks like there's something really big and weird looking, with a lot of blinking lights going off. What is happening? And what is that?
Well, let's think. Sky's peripheral nervous system is reacting to some kind of foreign stimulus and must be that big pointy thing. And her nerves are sending signals to her brain, which is telling her something is wrong because she's in pain.
I see. She is in pain because there's something stuck in her skin from the outside. She must have been stung by a bee. I still don't know what made her jump though.
Hey Kate, what does your textbook say about the reflex arc?
Well, according to my textbook, a reflex is a rapid, predictable response to a stimulus. There are several components to a reflex arc, which is the process and how this response happens. The first component is a receptor, which picks up the stimulus. Next is a sensory neuron, which carries the information to the spinal cord. Then you have the integration center, which decides what to do with the information. After that is the motor neuron, which carries the information to the muscle or effector. Then lastly, there's the actual effector, which is what this affects.
What is the sensor receptor?
I'm glad you asked, Ro. Here, I have a quick guide to what different sensory receptors we have in our body and what they do. Alright, first we have the sensory receptors. Those include the mechanoreceptors, which are touch and vibration, then the thermoreceptors, which are temperature and detection. Then you have photoreceptors, which detect light detection, then chemoreceptors, which are chemical detection, then nociceptors, which are pain detection. If you go up here on the chart, you'll see there's location classifications as well. You have the exteroceptors. These are the receptors that lay close to the skin so that they can tell what's going on outside the body. Interoceptors, which are receptors that tell and read what's going on inside the body. Proprioceptors. These receptors deal with the stimuli from joint muscles and tendons. It can also tell and figure out body space. Now we also have the sensory receptors that are classified by their structural complexity. Here's a walkthrough of those classifications and what they mean as well. You have simple receptors, which are your general senses. They're the unencapsulated dendritic endings, which are free dendritic nerve endings of sensory neurons. Modified free dendritic nerve endings, which include the Merkel discs, which are in the outer layer of the epidermis, the root hair plexuses, which help to feel what's touching you and wraps around the hair root. Then you have the encapsulated dendritic endings, which includes the Meissner's corpuscles, which detect light touch, and the Pacinian corpuscles, which detect deep touch and vibrations.
Get it? So the reason Sky jumped was because her nociceptor, which are somatic, picked up a signal that something happened, aka the bee stinging her. This caused her sensor neurons to carry the information, in this case, to her cervical spine, which then the interneuron decided what to do, which in this case, it decided that it wanted the muscle to jump up with the pain. So then the motor neuron carried that message to the muscle, which is also the effector, and finally Sky jumped up in pain and said, "Ow!" Now she is in constant pain because the stinger is still in her skin, which is also why there are so many flashing lights in this area. The neuron continuously sending signals to the brain to let Sky know there is something there that shouldn't be.
Precisely, Ro. I think we've made a precariously punctual prediction here, class. Let's go get that stinger out of Sky's shoulder.
You're back! And just in time! I thought I was going to miss my tournament. It starts in 5 minutes!
Don't worry, Sky. We know exactly what the problem is.
You got stung by a bee, Sky. The stinger is still in your shoulder, which is why you're in pain.
Well, Ro, would you like to do the honors?
With Sky's permission, you betcha, Mr. B.
Quickly, Ro! I have to get dressed and ready for my tournament! Everyone, you saved the game!
You're welcome, Sky!
Well, it looks like I have a few unanswered emails here. The first one is from an Aria.
Hey, Mr. B, it's Aria from Canada. I know you talked about nerves and how they send signals to tell the body if something is wrong or what to do, but what happens when those nerves get damaged? How does our body know what to do if it can't get the signal?
Good question, Aria. If there's damage to the brain, or otherwise known as the central nervous system, there is no going back. Generally, that type of damage is just too hard to repair. However, if there is damage to the peripheral nervous system, sometimes your Schwann cells that form the myelin sheath, which wraps around the axons to send the signal faster, will help regenerate the neuron. Although this can happen in the peripheral nervous system, it may not grow back, depending on the damage done. So be smart and protect your nervous system. It's extremely important and essential for life itself. As my great aunt Schwann used to always say, don't act on an impulse, but quickly and smart. All right, it looks like I have another email here. Oh, from my old student, Derek.
Hey, Mr. B, it's Derek. I was in your anatomy class last year. There's something I always had trouble with understanding. I know how the reflexes work, but what different kinds of reflexes do we have in our body?
There are somatic reflexes and autonomic reflexes with 5 different classifications of somatic reflexes. One is the stretch reflex, which is a classic reflex that helps guard against muscle stretch. 2 is the deep tendon reflex, which reflexes the muscle and helps smooth muscle movement. There is a flexor reflex, which is also known as the withdrawal reflex. This is the type of reflex that happens when you touch a hot stove. Also similar to the type that we saw with Sky in today's lesson. 4 is the crossed extensor reflex, which works on both sides of your body to withdraw on one side and then extend on the other. 5 is the superficial reflexes. These are really gentle stimulation reflexes. These include plantar reflex, which involves having a blunt object drawn down the bottom of your foot. This is also known as Babinski's sign, which is when you touch the bottom of your foot and the toes spread out, which should only happen in babies. Adults' feet should curl under, not spread apart. There is also abdominal reflex, which is what happens to your belly button when someone tickles your abdomen and the belly button jolts to the side being tickled. We didn't go over autonomic reflexes in this chapter, so hang on for the next lesson to learn about those, Derek. But it was nice talking to you again.